When you're learning English, you might hear a word, let's say apple. Your first instinct is to go back to your native language and to translate it. So in my case, in Spanish is apple manzana. That's it. And that works on paper, but it won't get you to be fluent if you do that. And it's a very little example, and it's with a word that is very easy, but if you do this in real time with everything, you're going to be very slow. So the fastest way of accessing to a word, to get access to it, is not by linking it to its translation, not a word to another word. The easiest way and the fastest way is to link that word to an object or to an idea. So an example, and I always go back to nature and to observation because that's what this channel is about. So let's look at kids. When a children is learning how to speak, they don't think about what they want and say like, okay, how is the name of that? How do I tell my mom that I want that? I want the toy, I want the milk. They don't do that because they don't even know the words. So they only feel it. They know that they're hungry, they know what they want the toy, they want that. But they don't even have any other word to link it, they don't even have a word to link it. So they use experience and the feeling to get the meaning. And once they do that, they can point at it, they start to babble, and the mom is like, you want this, you want the toy? And they can start to recognize the word. So when the word comes, it sticks because it's built on top of something that is real, that is experience. They can link it to that. So for us, whether it's something that you can see like a cat, a toy, milk, a bottle or something something abstract like freedom or love or guilt or that, we don't need our first language to translate it or to know what it is. Maybe at first, if you don't know the meaning, if you're lost with the word or the thing, you might need a translation to know exactly what that is, but to recognize it, just to know what we're talking about. But you're not going to need it forward. You're not going to go back again in your brain and to translate it every time that you need to use it. Because it's going to be slow and it's nothing that is natural in how we learn a new language. And once you get that, speaking becomes way more natural and faster. So I'm gonna bring Sal in to explain this a little bit better with more examples with real life. So let's look at that.
Okay, so to understand the concept, think about your own life, first of all. Like, do you really think about words when you're thinking about things like, what do I want to eat for lunch? You're not thinking hamburger, you're thinking, making an image of, maybe I got pizza, right? So if you understand that concept, now we want to work at it. So a very simple way to do it is look around you right now and identify things, if you're learning English, right? Identify things you don't know the word to in English, but look at that thing. And let's say something, what's obscure? I'm looking around, I see cables. Okay, maybe you know the word to cables, maybe you don't. So, okay, so think about, look at that cable, and if you don't know, now you know the word cable, but if you didn't know what it was, then you should make a note, cable. But you're looking at that thing on cable. You're gonna try to remember it. And you're gonna come back later and go, what is that? What is that thing? Is it a cord? Is it a, and maybe you don't know it yet, to quickly cable. And just do this with things that you see today. And start that process of identifying things you don't know the word of and attaching the English word to the thing. Whether it's a plant, whether it's a leaf, right? You go specific, maybe it's a root, right? That's how I had to do it. I knew árbol, that was basic, but I didn't know ramas, the branches, or raíces, the roots, and I had to learn, well, I didn't have to. But, you know, yeah, I do use these words sometimes, right? They're not the most important words, but as you go forward, there's always words that you could be learning.
All right, let's take a look at how you can actually apply this.
So welcome to my kitchen, and I'm actually cooking at the moment, making some soup here. And why are we in the kitchen? It's because we always wind up in the kitchen. Everybody winds up in the kitchen, right? Food, part of life. So what I want to talk about here is how to use this time in the kitchen or downtime, let's say, to improve your vocabulary and to make a good habit of not attaching words to words, attaching words to images or ideas, okay? So how do we do that? Well, we're in the kitchen and we're looking at things. We're cooking and have free time in our head because we're not doing anything dangerous. Hopefully, you're not cutting with a knife and gonna cut your fingers. But you wanna be able to identify all the things that you see. And when I say identify, I mean recall in the moment. This is the key here, recalling in the moment. So how fast is that? It's instant. Plate, cup, dish, wooden spoon, regular spoon, right? Pan, it has to be that quick because that's the speed of conversation. You can do it in your native language. You want to get in the habit of doing it in English now. So if you're a real beginner, this might be a little bit of a struggle to remember a lot of vocabulary. There's a lot of things in the kitchen. But in the end, we're going to remember all these words because we're going to see them and we're going to learn them. So this is a little bit of a slow burn kind of thing. You could take all this vocabulary on passively in a sense. You can do it when you're in your car. You can look out the window of your car and you can see things that you should be able to identify. Okay, trees and other cars and tires and flowers and whatever it may be. You can do it in almost any circumstance. But what you're doing here is you're training your brain for the recall and to learn vocabulary that if you try to do through a lesson or a book is almost impossible. But here are these things right in front of us every day that we should know the names to. And so let's work on that and let's practice that in these times where we have available to do it, okay? Let me show you a method that I use, and you could use other methods. So basically, and I printed this out because my handwriting is really hard to understand sometimes, but basically what I did was I took some of the words that I see here. How I would make this list myself is to basically look around and try to compile 10 to 20 words that I don't know. Now, I happen to know most of these, but there are things here I still don't know, to be honest. But you want to write them down on your list in your native language. And then what you want to do is put down the English word on a column across from it. Okay, why do we want to do that? I thought we didn't want to attach the words. Well, we don't want to attach the words. We're not going to study word to word, but your native language is going to help you to recall what it is, because how else can you do that? Because the plate doesn't talk, or you can call it a dish. The dish doesn't talk. So we're going to take this and we're going to fold it in half so we have accessible the words that we do know, so the things that we do know. And when we come across something that we don't know what it's called, and we go, what is that? I can't remember the word. And if I look on my list, botella in Spanish, and I look real quick, bottle. It reminded me of bottle. So I'm still attaching bottle to this. I'm attaching the English word to the actual thing that we're looking at. Could be an idea. In this case, these are tangible things. These are items. And in doing that and practicing that with everything we see, we're going to accomplish a couple of things. We're going to pick up a lot of vocabulary that we need. Why do we need it? It's right there in front of us. We should know it, right? So that's one thing. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our recall. See it, say it instantly. And that's going to translate from vocabulary over to phrases and more complex things. But it's the same process. This is just a simple way to do it. If you're already in that advanced enough where this is a little bit too simple, you're just learning vocabulary, you could start to use the vocabulary in sentences. You could play it out in your head. You could even say it out loud if you're alone. And you can make sentences with a plate. This plate is smaller than the other plate. The plate is big enough to put a donut on. I'm going to wash the plate. I'm going to put the plate. And in using that vocabulary in creative ways, in different ways, it's going to make more pathways in your head, and you're going to just be able to recall it more quickly and process the language more quickly, which is what fluency is. So one more note here, this is a piece of paper that I use, but it doesn't have to be a piece of paper. You can do it with your phone, you can do it with a notepad, and you could be creative in how you do it. But the idea is never directly correlate the words together. Don't try to memorize your native language to what the English is. Try to take the English word directly to the item, and that's going to help your recall, and that's going to get you to fluency much, much, much faster. Trust me. You'll be learning words for years and years after you're fluent, for after you're living there. I'm still learning words in English that I didn't know. I hear them and I go, what does that mean? And I have to look it up and I go, oh. Sometimes I'll use it and sometimes I'm like, I'll never use that word again. But there's so many words I don't know, and that's how a language is. And I don't need them, necessarily, and it's voluntary. I could expand my vocabulary, which I like to do, and other people just don't have an interest in that, and they don't. But they can still communicate. They're still working, fluidly, and they can make real conversation. That is the point. You need that as a base. That is the minimum requirement, is fluency, to really be part of a community. You have to be able to communicate on a verbal way or a quick way. You want to come to the United States or Australia, wherever it is, you want to fit in, you want to make the most money you can make, you want to get the best job you can, you have to communicate. So that's the minimum, is fluency. Now, how far you want to take it, that's up to you. Do you want to have a big vocabulary? Do you want to be very articulate? Do you want to be grammatically correct? Those are all choices you make. But fluency, the ability to communicate and be understood in real time, is absolutely imperative. And that's what we help people to do.
So yeah, it's about connecting words to the ideas and to the images. So let me ask you, what's a word that you've been trying to memorize or to recognize but never really got? To me, it was the word peacock.
Bruh.
I never got fast the word peacock. I don't know, I was confused, and in my brain I didn't know what the animal was, so it was kind of hard to remember it at the beginning. And let's be honest, it's not a word that you use every day, but well, that was the one for me. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about why memorizing is not going to help you become fluent, but building something that is called recall does. So I'll see you in the next episode, and if you want to check any other videos, I'm gonna leave it here or maybe in the description, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.